Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Polestar Pilates Hour. While you're logging in, I have two guests with me today. I have Dan Grech from BizHack, and I have our Chief Operating Officer from Polestar, Andreina Santaella. We have a lot of information to cover today, and it's an exciting topic for us, especially coming out of the pandemic. It has been a very difficult time for a lot to start their business again, to generate leads, to be able to, a lot of you have started your own businesses after the pandemic. You left the studio you're working for, you realized that, you have clients following you and you've been seeing them at home or virtually. And now you're facing the idea of running a business and being an entrepreneur. And a good friend of ours, Dan Grech, is the founder of BizHack, and he has helped us immensely. And in particular, Andreina has been very involved with BizHack as well, and particularly in the Pilates community. I want to just do a little shout out on Dan. Dan is actually quite a famous person. He created the lead building system that he's going to introduce you to today. But long before that, when I first met Dan, he was telling me that he had worked for NPR, PBS, the Washington Post, the Miami Herald, an acclaimed writer, and also has been involved in marketing large businesses, some for energy, and graduated from Goldman Sachs top business program, and also is a Princeton undergrad, and did his graduate work at FIU down in our neck of the woods in Miami. So Dan, it's great to have you with us. Thank you for joining us today.
It's such a pleasure to be here. I've actually have a long relationship with Polestar, including having gone to one of your annual retreats. And I remember basically being with a bunch of former dancers, rolling around on the floor and trying to keep up. I have an athletic background. I'm a soccer player, tennis player. I was broken by you guys. You guys are incredible athletes, and I salute this community you've built. Congratulations.
Well, if we break you, we put you back together again too. So I think I did get a chance to lay some hands upon you once or twice, maybe in Christie's studio or something like that, right?
You know what you did? We did a session together, but the other thing you did is I'm almost positive you picked me up during one of those trainings. Like, you're one of the only, I'm a big guy. I'm more than 250 pounds. And you were one of the only people who has ever been able to lift my mass off the ground. And I will never forget you. You cracked, places in my back that I didn't even know existed.
So, well, I'm glad that I still have the strength to lift you up. I don't know if I can do it today. I might be able to. We'll see. I'm getting all kinds of warning signs now from family members, and Andreina and Elizabeth and Shelly, all saying you got to quit lifting so much. It's hurting your body. But anyway, sure, it's good to have you on. And I want to get right into some programming today and some things we're sharing. We have a course coming up that Dan will be leading for us. And again, everybody's welcome to join us for the course, obviously. I thought, Andreina, maybe you could tell a little bit about the course and what's coming up and the product with Dan.
Yes, of course. So Dan has created a course called how to find more clients online. And the idea is to help us kind of map out the strategy needed marketing wise to get clients to come into your studio and keep them there. I had the pleasure of going through one of Dan's courses 5 years ago when my mom opened her studio here in Miami, Florida. We were struggling with getting clients to come in and stay, and nothing that we were doing was working. And actually, after the course, we saw a 4x increase in revenues, and it was very impressive. I was very pleased with the knowledge that I got from the course. I loved that it was very easy to put in place, and that the results were there right after we finished. So what we've tried to do is make a course very specialized for Pilates studio owners or just Pilates instructors who want to start to build their following and clients. in a way that is not threatening, or that it creates more stress in your lives, but that it starts to make sense, and you start to enjoy, the business side of what you guys are doing. So
Yeah. Now, I know this is Dan's business, and Dan, it's always sometimes a little challenging, some of the questions I might ask, because you're sort of tooting your own horn, and you're also a pretty humble guy with a great skill set. But, when it comes to marketing, it's like, I always like when people say, oh, I don't do business, I don't do sales, I don't do marketing. It's like, no, we all do business, we all do marketing, we all sell ourselves at some point in time. What are some of the challenges that you've seen with young business owners, entrepreneurs, that your business is addressing? Like, what are some of the bigger challenges that are out there for, especially, this applies. And one thing I learned a long time ago in a CEO training group I was with for many years was that business is business. So it didn't matter if you were selling fire sprinkler systems or Pilates education or restaurant business. Business is business. And I see this all the time. So I want people to realize that whether you talk about real estate agents, which you've had a lot of success with real estate agents in around the country, but more importantly, the idea of just business and young business owners that might be, have this preconceived notion that, selling is hard, business is hard, marketing is hard. And, that sort of led you to develop your company. And maybe talk a little bit about that, of how, you've been able to address that perception and realign it. That's what I feel you've done.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity. To me, the answer to your question is, when you think about running a business, when you think about marketing, there's skill set, and the knowledge and the tools, and then there's mindset. And specifically talking about the Pilates community, the biggest challenges I have faced are mindset more than skill set. You guys are all incredibly talented, intelligent, capable people. We've had people go through our digital marketing training that are 80 years old and they've gotten it. My specialization from years of being a journalist and then going through the learning journey myself is to make complex things simpler. I'm never going to say that digital marketing is simple, but it can be made simpler, and that's what we do. And so understanding it isn't the issue. The tools are not as hard as they used to be. It's really that what's holding a lot of folks back is a mindset issue. And we actually have a name for the mentality that we're trying to cultivate. We call it the BizHacker mentality, and it's an agile mentality. It's a test and learn mentality. It's a fail gloriously mentality. And a lot of business owners, including Pilates, professionals, are kind of perfectionists, and that quality that has made them incredible at dancing, incredible at the fine motor skills that Pilates requires, makes them terrible at marketing, and like getting them to accept failure, which is a built in to marketing, has been really tough. And so that is honestly what we try to cultivate, is we give you the tools, we give you the knowledge. That's the easy part. It's that we then coach you to recognize that you're testing and learning continuously. And a little plug for Andre real quick. She is one of the most egoless marketers I've ever met. She's so data-driven, numbers-driven, and she is like a beautiful model for what kind of the BizHack mentality looks like.
She is a beautiful model.
Thank you, guys.
You said something really important, and I want to reiterate it. And I do this with my students at the university as well, is that, failing is not a bad thing. And Shelley talks about this all the time as well in movement. It's like we learn through failing. Unfortunately, we have a culture that doesn't accept failure in a lot of areas. And so that sticks with us, thinking that, if we fail, we're no good at it. But the reality is that failure is learning. It is preparing to be successful. That's what failure is. So all good entrepreneurs are not afraid of failing. That was a lesson I learned years ago. It's like, if you're afraid of failing or losing money or those kind of things, then you won't be a great entrepreneur, because the only way you learn in these new businesses and these new opportunities is by failing. And the other thing that I always like to reiterate is, even in medicine, we call it the practice of medicine. We don't call it the science of medicine. We call it the practice of, because we fail 50% of the times with our initial diagnosis, even with experienced clinicians. It's very difficult in human nature to be able to get it right. And I think in marketing, I mean, Andreina, how many times do we go through with our marketing team and rehash and look at the data and analyze, like, you know what? People don't like too much color inside the ad. People don't like too many words inside the ad. The call was not a good call. This call worked better with this population than this call to action. And
Yeah.
we wouldn't know that if we didn't fail.
Well, and also, it doesn't matter what you think or what you think it's pretty. It's the good thing about digital marketing is now you have a way of testing things very quickly, and you can measure its success. And if something's not working, then you go ahead and change it. And it's a pretty cheap way of learning, compared to how it was before, right? Like sending out a flyer and just praying that somebody would read it and show up at your door. Now you can follow the journey of a prospect or a lead and learn what worked, what didn't, and just very quickly change and adapt.
And the world is moving into, complete data analysis. I mean, it is so powerful of looking at those things. Dan, I know you got a number of treats for us today, and I thought that we would get started sooner than later and maybe have you go through a little bit of a taste of the education that you provide for people interested in learning how to generate leads and to market stronger and to be more effective. And everybody that's on, the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen is live. And at any point in time, you can ask a question to Dan. Any of us can field that question. So Andreina, feel free to field a question as well if you see it come up. And let's turn the time over to you, Dan, to do a little presentation that we asked you to do, just giving a taste of some of the training. I saw some really cool information in the slides today. And again, this is just a smidgen of what Dan does, and give you a little taste. And if you like that taste, there's more.
I love it. Part of the goal here in bringing Andre on is I'm going to customize this presentation to the Pilates world. But I have worked with dozens of Pilates studios, but I don't live it and breathe it like Andre does. So Andre, I want to invite you to just jump in at any moment to provide some color commentary. You have also, like, right at hand, some really beautiful concrete case studies that you've been part of. We go in a lot of depth about each of these elements in the course that we're putting together, including some really in-depth and I think inspirational case studies of work that Andre's done in marketing Pilates studios. So it's been really a joy to put this curriculum together for you for one of my favorite groups of people, which is the Pilates community.
And you need to share with them, Dan, that you do practice Pilates.
I do. I actually am doing hot Pilates on the mat right now. I have a reformer studio where I do group classes as well. It's been a few months just with COVID and everything, but I'm a regular practitioner of yoga and Pilates. My body gets broken down by tennis and soccer and running and swimming, and built back up by Pilates. And we were actually flirting with calling this course Strengthening Your Core, because that really is what this is about. You're going to see we talk about the foundation, the core of your marketing. So I have sore stomach muscles from my Pilates class from Tuesday with Martin here in North Miami. But I'm not only a teacher, but I'm a user of Pilates and a big fan of it. So we're gonna do like a little micro curriculum. This is like the kind of essential element of a 10-hour course, which we're going to be sharing with you guys in the coming months. But this is like a little teaser, a little kind of high-level overview of it. But I think all of you are going to get something out of this. We're going to introduce you to a systematic process, a proven approach to purpose-driven digital marketing called the lead building system. What do we mean by purpose-driven digital marketing? You'll learn that. What are the elements of the lead building system? We'll talk about the foundation and the 6 pillars. We're going to then actually ask you interactively to assess your marketing strengths and weaknesses. We have a little assessment, and we can go ahead and put that in the chat now so people can open it up and follow along on their homes. But that assessment will allow you to self-assess how good are you at implementing the lead building system for your company. What I would recommend is open it up in your browser, and then as we go, fill it in as we go through each pillar and what it means, and you can give yourself a score. And then once we have those lead building system scores, I'm going to actually anonymize the data and share it with you guys so you can see how you each rank. It could make you feel better or worse. Generally, I have found that folks who come from the Pilates community tend to underscore themselves. They tend to give themselves lower scores because you're a perfectionist sometimes by nature. I've had, here's the one thing I'll tell you, you should not put a 0 on almost any of the, if you have an active Pilates business, you're doing some things right. So don't be too harsh on yourselves. There's no, one of our core values at BizHack is blameless problem solving. Try to assess yourself as accurately as possible, not just beating yourself up by giving yourself 0s for things. Whenever I work with a company that's been in business for 30 years and they tell me 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, I say, listen, it's literally not possible for you to still be in business if that were true.
And I'll just add there, Dan, that, there's some people on here that might not be Pilates studio owners. They might be other, like, people that work for people that are owning studios. So, think of this as your business. And so answer it just as if it was it doesn't matter what your business is.
That's right. Whether you work for someone else, you can assess their business, or if you are an independent who works for different studios, but also has her own consultancy or her own, Instagram and following, like, just then do it for your own, private practice. Whatever makes the most sense for you. And by the way, if you don't think of yourself as a business owner, if you are that kind of independent solo who goes at different studios and has her own following, you are running a little micro business, and this can help you sharpen that up and make more money and have greater level of freedom and independence, which is ultimately our goal. So the foundation of the lead building system is called your business story. We'll talk about what that is. And then there are 6 pillars: the campaign objective, the target audience, the irresistible offer, the thumb-stopping visual, the compelling message, and the customer journey. And this systematic approach is the core of what we call purpose-driven digital marketing using storytelling. This is an approach that's specifically designed for small businesses that are limited in time, money, and expertise. Our definition, a simpler definition of digital marketing, is simply telling your business story online. Your business story has 2 components: your story of me, or your origin story, and your story of us, which is how your origin story connects to your target audience, and then your core purpose. Why do you do this work? You want to identify your core purpose and then have that drive your marketing, and you want to align your core values with those of your customer. In our system, there's a lot less emphasis on the tools and the channels. So you're not going to hear me say, here's how you can make the most out of LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok. Those are all just tools for human-to-human connection that are just facets of your marketing. They're not the point of marketing. And frankly, in my opinion, just like there are good and bad ways to teach Pilates, the bad way to teach digital marketing is from a channel-driven approach. So most of the marketing that you'll see is how to use TikTok to grow your business. That's like saying how to use a hammer to build a house. No. You need to have a good blueprint, and then a hammer is just a tool. You can use it to build a house or put a hole in the wall, depending on how you use it. So please don't fall into channel-based tactics and strategies. You will overwhelm yourself. Like just Instagram, like all of you guys should be on Instagram, right? It is the natural place and home for a Pilates professional. Just mastering Instagram could take your rest of your life. Right? That you're not an Instagram expert. You are a business owner. You're an entrepreneur. You need to understand how Instagram fits into that but let's not get confused about channels versus strategy. And we're going to really focus on that bigger picture. And then you can then apply it across all of your marketing, including customer communications, which is actually your most powerful form of marketing. What do you say before and after a session is your most powerful form of marketing. And it's where so many of you guys fall short. More emphasis on story. I really, like, you guys are so much fun to work with, because I've never met a Pilates professional that isn't doing the work for the right reasons. And I'm actually feeling like a little bit of like goosebumps as I tell this. Like, I'm thinking back now to the movement professionals that I have met. There's this one story, I don't remember the name of the owner. They were part of the PMA session that we did, but I will never forget it, who was giving away his, I think, daughter or son has a developmental disability. I think it's multiple sclerosis. And he's part of a community of parents with kids with multiple sclerosis. And he was giving away Pilates classes to people in that community. And fuck, he was doing it for all the right reasons. And I said, like, listen, have you ever thought about leveraging that in your marketing in an authentic way? So for instance, maybe people could, doing it for free right now, maybe people could just tack $5 on to their class fee, and then that could help sponsor another student so that you don't have to do it. He's filling up half his schedule with free sessions, and he's not a profitable business, and he's at risk of going out of business. So that's marketing. That's a marketing mentality, but it's like the authenticity, the transparency, and the purpose-driven nature of that guy's business makes him a marketer's dream. And I have yet to meet a Pilates studio that is not a marketer's dream, because God knows we're not doing this for the money. Yeah. Brent, you want to comment on that?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm so glad that I'm in the healing and well-being business rather than, making weapons of mass destruction business or something like that. 100%. Or something that destroys the planet. It's nice to, it's always nice when you go to bed at night and, as hard as life is and as things can be, it's like, you know what, my work is good. It's a good work. And it's rewarding. It's improving the world. It makes life better for people and individuals. It's a good work. And we all have that to say.
You can do well and you can do good. And here's the thing about sustainability. If you don't have your marketing and your business practices tightened up, you can't do your work in a sustainable way. That's the thing, right? Like, this isn't an either or. Either I do well or I do good, right? In order for you to do good, you must do well. And that's what this is about, is I want you to shine your light more brightly. And the way to do that is to be efficient and effective in your marketing, so more people get touched by your greatness, right? Otherwise, you will burn out. And that's my big fear when I deal with Pilates professionals is these are stars that burn brightly and then fade unless they have like a patron. But there's no reason, you don't need a patron to make a profitable Pilates business. You can do this. There are a lot of very successful Pilates businesses, and you have something really important to give to the world. And I want to help you communicate that more effectively so you drive more business. And the reason we take this approach is Simon Sinek says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And the reason you all are acolytes of Brent is because Brent's why is life-changing. Like, he's our Pied Piper. The man has a charisma that you want to follow, and he wherever he points, you follow. And that's because he's doing it for all the right reasons. His why is so present and powerful that his business story is what has made Polestar Pilates what it is today. Now, there are 10 benefits to leading with purpose. I'll go through them real quick and then I'll get to the meat of it. 1, it gives meaning to the work you do. 2, it makes you more money. And this is proven. Visionary companies have beaten their competitors by a 16-to-1 margin on the stock market. That's according to Jim Collins from Good to Great. It attracts your ideal customer. So when you talk about your authentic self and why you do what you do, it becomes like a magnet for your perfect customer. And so, Brent is surrounded by freaking amazing people because of his story, and that's what you can do too. It differentiates you from the competition. The competition is not just other Pilates studios. It's that, but it's also all the other exercise and movement-based methodologies that are out there competing for people's time and attention. It attracts and retains new employees. It attracts you new employees and retains and motivates your existing employees. If you're good at talking about your why and why you do what you do, it'll be much easier to recruit and retain talent, which has become probably one of the most important things holding back small businesses today. It also guides employee behavior so that when they're upselling or cross-selling or doing the necessary work of running a business, they're doing it in a way that isn't slimy, that is actually coming from a great place. If you believe in what you do and you sell someone on coming and becoming a member or doing 10 group classes or scheduling their next session with you or giving you their contact information so you can stay in touch, you could look at that as an annoying marketing come on, or you could look at that as like you giving them a gift of staying in touch and making sure that they stay on track for their goals. There's that great line from Joseph Pilates. I'm going to butcher it so you guys can fix it. It's like, give me, one session, I won't make any changes. Give me 10 sessions, I'll change your mind. Give me 100 sessions, I'll change your body. Give me the right line there.
Well, it is something like that, but it's like you'll feel the difference after the first session. You'll see the difference after the 10th session. It'll change your life after when you apply it. And, the main thing he said was people that practice contrology every day, if we did it, there'd be no reason for prisons, hospitals, or insane asylums. So you think of today's world that we don't have insane asylums anymore, but we got a lot of people that suffer from major mental and psychological illness. People that are mindful and people that are conscious and people that are in touch with their body and reality are less likely to be sick, are less likely to commit crimes, and less likely to have mental illness. Andre, you had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, more than a question, I feel like as a Pilates instructor myself, I can relate to all the things that you're talking about here, not only from a business manager perspective, but we're marketing ourselves in every class, right? If we have our own why, there's a reason why we like to teach Pilates. There's a type of class that you adore. There's probably maybe a specific population that you like to work with. So getting to know yourself and identifying what the reasons behind what you're doing are will have a great impact in how full your classes are, how the word of mouth amongst your clients who will refer more people to you. So I feel like this is not only important for from a business perspective for a studio, but all of us, right? Like we want to make sure our classes are full. We want to make sure that we have a full client roster, and all of these things apply to that.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, can I take 1 second and answer this question from Thomas? I think what Andre just said is very relevant to this point of the conversation. And Thomas was saying that he is a physical therapist and Pilates teacher in New Jersey, and that reimbursements, they're not only stagnant, Thomas, but they're actually reversing. They're going negative. We're getting paid less and less from insurance companies, and he goes out of network and cash pay. And one of the things that I have to do all the time is do exactly what Andreina was just talking about. Every patient, I have to be driven in my mind that I need to create a difference. I need to show that they are actually, show them that they can see their own improvement and that they can justify the money that they spend to be able to feel better about themselves and to feel better in life and to be able to function better. So there is a sales component in every visit that I have, but that sales component has to be based on a skill set that I've acquired over the years, or that you have acquired over the years, to be able to make a measurable difference or something that they perceive as a difference. Where if we catastrophize and use negative language and we don't talk about our vision and our mission and what makes us different, then often that is lost and that person doesn't come back. So there's some other good techniques we can talk about another time, but I just think that the idea of no matter where we are, in a class with a private patient, we are always, putting that viewpoint forward for them to see the best of us.
I love that. And we're going to talk here in a sec now about a systematic approach to selling to strangers, which is what Thomas Levosky needs to do. If you're not getting referred patients by being in network, you know, which is the primary benefit for being in a network, is it kind of is it reduces your marketing costs. If you're cash based and out of network, you have to put more time and money into marketing.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between having a retail store on Main Street or in some corner. You know, you're in a cul-de-sac that nobody traffics. You got to let the whole world know that you're out there. So the benefits of purposely driven marketing, also it sets really clear guardrails and what your company does and doesn't do. It creates a foundation for the public image of your company, and ultimately it increases your impact in the world. Because like, why else do this, right? Like, you should all be hungry to touch more people, and that's what marketing will allow you to do. So here's the lead building system. I'm actually writing a book. We're doing the course on this. This all started when my own personal journey into digital marketing. I spent nearly 2 decades at NPR, PBS, the Miami Herald. I was a journalist. I had a master's degree in creative nonfiction. I was a radio. I did the first podcast in Miami, Under the Sun. And then in 2013, I lost my job and needed to reinvent myself, and wanted to reinvent myself as a business storyteller, AKA a digital marketer. And so I, Google what is digital marketing, and this graphic from Gartner, the top digital marketing think tank, comes up, and this is digital marketing. This is a real graphic. It's called the Digital Marketing Roadmap, and every single node and hub in that is a real thing with experts who have just that one little expertise. And I look at this and I kind of want to throw up, like, where do you start? This looks like the T in Boston. Like, anyone who's ever been in Boston knows what it feels like to get lost there. Like, this is not helpful at all. And this is what the best think tank in the world, Gartner, came up with. Does this answer your most basic questions of like, who do I hire? How do I measure success? Or where even to start? No. And so I ended up in the unfortunate seat of having to learn this stuff myself. And I basically have compressed, 7-10 years of hard study and learning into this 10-hour course, just to try to provide you a roadmap as a small business owner that's limited in time, money, and expertise. There is absolutely no reason, right, for us to not just give you the answer here. But if you go to try to find it on your own, it can take you months, even years of effort to find it. And this is what I believe to be, having worked with more than 1,000 businesses, the answer to what digital marketing for a small business, for a Pilates business, should look like. It starts with your foundation, which is your business story. And then it has the 6 pillars that you build up on that foundation when you're doing your campaigns. These ideas are not new, although the formulation of them is. These ideas are drawn from the best marketing companies in the world, from IBM and Facebook and Apple and Microsoft and Google and LinkedIn, but then applying them to a use case that is a small business use case that's limited in time, money, and expertise, like Rafael Savino of Ascendance Studios. This is a company that came through our training about 5 years ago. I think Andre has met Rafael. He's a smart guy, but I mean, really, he had no idea about marketing. He was running with his wife a dance studio for teenage girls in Doral, Florida. And he has become, in a matter of a couple years, considered one of the best small business marketers in the country. He's been featured in a national ad campaign by Google. He's been put on panel discussions, both industry and by Facebook and Google. He got there almost overnight, and he started his learning journey with us. It's not, digital marketing is so new and such a wild west that to go from nothing to expert is easier than you think. And the people who make you think otherwise usually do it to make money off of you. And I'm here to tell you that there's nothing conceptually about digital marketing that you guys cannot master. It's the execution of it that takes discipline and effort and time and expertise. And usually you're going to want to try to hire someone, the right person, to help you with that. So the 6 pillars, campaign objective is the first pillar. What I'd like you guys to do, if you haven't already, is go into the chat and you'll see a link called Test for Your LBS Score. And you can, that should be to everyone, sorry. Go ahead and click on it. When you click on it, you'll see this, which is like a really quick survey. And the survey will invite you to put in your email, your contact info, and then score yourself 0 to 10 as I go through each of these elements. And at the end of this session, I have the results primed and ready to go. I can see already, these are amazing. We already have scores ranging from 23 all the way up to 40 that have come in, and this is awesome. I love you guys. This has never happened before. I can tell that this is like a hungry audience because you guys are already jumping in there and giving me your input, which I love. So we're going to go over those scores before the end of the session. It'll be fun to see the range of scores and where people score themselves and which pillars they tend to be stronger or weaker at. So the one thing I wanted to start with is let's talk about the business story. The business story has 2 elements. It's your core purpose. What change, positive change are you making in the world? For almost all of you, it's going to be something related to that you have a deep belief in the power of movement to heal bodies and minds. It's going to be something like that. And then you're going to have a story of me, which is how did you come across this? How did you discover this? How did Pilates touch you personally? And how did you come to be an acolyte and ultimately someone dedicating their life to spreading the word, right? That's your business story. If you are good at telling that business story, and if you are good at putting that on your website, putting that in your social media, having that guide, all of the content you create, telling your employees about it, using it during job interviews, if you do all of that, that's a 10 out of 10. I have yet to meet a 10 out of 10. I'm not a 10 out of 10. But when you go out there and you say, this is what I believe in, this is why my company exists, and this is why I do it, and this is my deeply personal reason, and this is how, you know, movement and movement science connect to me personally, that's telling your business story and doing that in a systematic way across all of your marketing. Have that be the kind of melody underneath all the notes. That's what a 10 out of 10 looks like on the business story. Now we're going into campaign objective. This is when you get to the stuff that Andre is the best in the world at. She is so good at being very clear-eyed about defining what success looks like in numbers, and then looking at the numbers to determine success and to guide next action. She's just so gifted at it. And I attribute it to coming up from an entrepreneurial family and talking business at the dinner table in Venezuela year after year. She has an MBA. She's a smart cookie. Like, I don't know where she discovered this, but she just has a very clear-eyed vision for what success looks like. So these are the numbers that tell the story about your business. These happen at the highest levels of your business. What is the average cost to acquire a customer? How much lifetime value do you generate from that customer? All the way down to the micro metrics of, did someone open my email? Did they click on the link, right? So campaign objective is at the highest levels and at the most micro campaign levels. And this is where the marketing funnel comes in, getting people to go from stranger to sale and then to buy again. And getting really clear on those numbers. I will tell you, if I had to predict, this is going to be the pillar that if you're honest with yourself, you're all the worst at. I've yet to see a small, and I'll give you this floor in a second. I've yet to see a small business owner, with the exception of Andre, who's good at this. It is just not how you're built. It's not how you think. It's not why you're in it, but it's obviously pillar one for a reason. Brent.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I've struggled with forever. And I've always, really being able to think of, if this, then what? And, how do we keep that chain going? And thinking of in the education business, for example, we have a primary sell of education, and then what, right? And so the campaign objective for us in that funnel, and how do we continue to drive traffic, has always been, the biggest challenge, I think, in, 30 years of business. And I do appreciate very much having Andre on the team now, but it's like that campaign component, like, I know my target population, I know my story, but that campaign, it's funny, I put it down as a 5 in my score, before you said that. So I thought it was funny that I had already given myself a low score on it for myself.
And it's interesting, like, when Brent and I were in discussions about ways to partner together, Brent is actually more data oriented and driven than a lot of the business owners I'm used to dealing with. He thinks a lot about, where, like, let's work backwards from where we want to get to, like we want to, generate this number of courses and like you actually are better than some. I'm good at math and terrible at analytics, which is like kind of confusing. It's not a math. This isn't about math. This is really about making business decisions that are data driven. That's really what this pillar is about.
And I love analytics. I just think this is a very complex part of the formula.
Yeah. So the core of marketing strategy is pillar 2 and 3, which is your target audience and your irresistible offer. You guys are probably awesome at pillar 2. So everybody, in my experience, most business owners struggle with pillar 1 and are awesome at pillar 2. Now, the thing with pillar 2, target audience, is you might have an idea of who your ideal customer is, but you just might not know how to find them online. So that's the kind of key element of this, is if you have a really clear idea of who is your ideal customer, what their interest clusters are, who they make their buying decisions with, but you don't know how to find those folks online, then you have to give yourself a low score in pillar 2. So it's not enough to know them. You need to know where they hang out online and in person, or digital marketing will never work for you. So just like, some of you guys are going to be going to I'll call on you in a sec, Andre. Just like a couple of you guys are going, some of you guys are going maybe to the PMA conference, that is an example of a place to find your target audience. And Brent and Andre and Polestar have been longtime members and partners of the PMA because that's where their target audience lives. So it's not by accident, right? That is an interest that they can target for in their ads. They know that the PMA is a interest indicator of their ideal customer. That's an example of how digital marketing works, is you find what are known as interest clusters, things that people are interested in, and then you target for it. Now, why not just make an interest cluster around Pilates? Well, if you're Brent, you don't want everybody who does Pilates. You only want people who teach it or run businesses around it. And that's where the PMA is a better indicator of ideal customer than Pilates, where you're going to get people like me who are just practitioners. So that it takes a lot of experimentation and a lot of insight to be able to figure out how to find your target audience. Andre.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that for those of you who have a hard time trying to create the persona of who your target audience is, I would suggest to go back to your why. Like, why are you doing this? What type of people do you want to serve? And then try to get super particular about what is the age group, where do these people live, what do they like to do, and those things. So yeah, that's what I would add here.
Yeah, the demographics, psychographics, geography. Yeah. And when we, you can imagine there's a whole hour unit with 10 micro lessons about just this topic, about each of these pillars. So if you're like hungry to learn more, that's what the course is. It's like this, but broken down into a bunch of micro lessons, and gives you a real deep dive and also tools you can use for free audience discovery. All right, so you've figured out your target audience, you know how to find them online. Marketing's all about motivating behavior. It's about giving them a reason to do something. And that's what the offer is about, is you got to give to receive. That is kind of essential. Gift giving is essential to human, and it is essential to marketing. And we put a lot of different, names around this, but really what this is we call it your offer strategy. And there are 3 types of offers. There's the free irresistible offer. This webinar, I assume, is being offered for free. This is a free irresistible offer. This is an opportunity for us to share knowledge. All you're giving us is your time and your registration information. There's the foot in the door offer, which is, you kind of getting a taste. The best example, and I'll give you an example of how this works in the most studio settings. And then there's the upsell cross-sell, right? Where you upsell them into another product that's similar to the one they have, or a cross-sell, which is you sell them a pair of shoes or a Pilates sweater or whatever. So the free irresistible offer typically in most of the Pilates businesses that I know is a free class. And then the foot in the door offer would be like what Andre does, which is a heavily discounted 10-pack. And then you make it your job that they show up for all 10, because now you've built a habit. Now you're starting to see those body changes we were talking about. And that's when you sell them the membership. Got it? That's an offer strategy, right? Free, half off a 10-pack membership. And that, it's like, it doesn't need to get more complicated than that. So when you take the course, you'll see Andre will give you like detailed examples of how she's built this customer journey, examples of ads she uses at each stage in the journey. The idea is like, we've figured out a lot of this stuff for how to do this right in a Pilates studio context. And there's really no reason to reinvent the wheel here. We want to just give you a shortcut because we ultimately want you to just be more successful. Pricing is the most powerful motivating factor you can use. So we include pricing as part of offer strategy because the psychology of pricing and pricing things not based on how much it costs you to deliver it, that's cost-based pricing, but on the value that you deliver. Like, how much is it worth to someone to have a new body? How much is it worth to someone to feel better about themselves, right? That's value-based pricing. It is worth everything. It's worth an infinity amount of money. And so if you price yourself based on the value you bring, rather than just, okay, you know, it costs me this amount of money to open the studio and this amount of money to pay an instructor for an hour of her time and this amount of money to have a front desk attendant, and we'll add that all up and it comes to $75, and so we'll charge $100. That's the wrong way to approach it. Yeah, Brent.
You know, when I first went cash pay as a physical therapist, I would ask patients, how much is it worth to you to be pain free? Or to return to work, you know, or to be able to sleep through the night. And it was amazing. I'd give $1,000. I'd give $500. You know, it's like, okay, so I got to work backwards again, right? I need to make $200 per hour in my position. So that means I could do 4 treatments or 5 treatments. I have to have them turned around 50% in half that time for them to believe it and pay for it. So it was like, a lot of times we're so scared to tell somebody what we're worth. But, you know, when you realize what it's worth for them to feel great, it has a much higher value than we might put on it ourselves.
One of the most expensive hours I've ever spent in a health modality was with Brent Anderson, and it was one of the best spends I've ever had. And that's because Brent, like, his touch has 35 years of expertise in his fingers. It's like, what is that worth? Whatever you're charging, it's not enough. I promise you. All right. That's strategy. Not just you, Brent. Don't charge me so much. All of you, everybody else. Brent's got this down. All right. So we have offer, audience and offer. That's the core of marketing. That's kind of it, right? That's marketing strategy. Who's your target audience and what are you giving them to motivate to stay in touch, to do business with you, to buy again? But how do you communicate that? You need to have thumb-stopping visuals and you need to have a compelling message. And so the next 2 pillars are really about presentation. And we start with visuals very intentionally because video is the vernacular of mobile. Mobile is the way people consume the internet today. So you have to get good at video. And a lot of you are pretty good at visuals through your work on Instagram, you know, posting imagery of your clients and videos from your sessions. Great. You're not leveraging it though, right? You could use that for advertisements that'll get you greater reach for less money. These video ads can take only 12 to 15 seconds. They can even be something as simple as a photo slideshow that you stitch together using a free video building tool. Having a consistent and powerful visual identity is number 1 in your marketing in terms of how do you communicate value. It's not enough though. I know many of you probably aren't word people. You're probably more visual and movement oriented, but you still need to have the words that accompany that support that. And our messaging methodology, we recommend what we call ATV messaging, which is authentic, transparent, and vulnerable, especially in social media and especially for your kind of business. This is the way to go. And if you look at your historically best content, I guarantee you authenticity, transparency, and vulnerability was in play in it. And I just see this consistently. This is the way people communicate on social media. It is what people are looking for from their business, health and wellness professionals, is people who just feel terribly authentic. And I can pretty much tell you that the very best influencers in the health and wellness space, all of them are ATV, all of them. Pillars and clusters, thought leadership, you are purveyors. Like Brent is a beautiful example of a thought leader, right? And he's combining modalities. He's bringing PT together with Pilates in a way that's kind of unique. He is a movement. You're a leader of a movement, right? That has a certain point of view about Pilates and how it fits and how to approach it. That is really distinct than, some of these like crazy Pilates exercise classes that I've taken that, really is just about like finding a different way to sweat. Right. And so that Brett stands in contrast to that. God bless him for it. And he is a thought leader in the space. And there are lots of people who disagree with him, and they are their own thought leaders and they have their own followers. And that's kind of where I think all of you in your own small way are. When you go out and you run a business or you do Pilates in a public way, you are, whether you realize it or not, a thought leader, and you should have a clarity on what that messaging is. Guys, you should be marking 0 to 10 on all of these. Brent, to me, you're a 10 out of 10 in compelling messaging because of your thought leadership. You're phenomenal at that. And then finally, another area where like Andre, like marketing guru, is so clear is in the customer journey, is taking them from stranger to sale. Is, you go, they see an ad, they click on the ad, they fill out a form, they then get a free class, they come to the class, they get upsold on the 10-pack, then they have follow-up. So they come and use the 10-pack. If you have 10 packs at your site, if you have multi-packs of groups and they don't use them all, and you dare think that that's a good thing because you didn't have to pay, you have lost a huge opportunity. When you sell a package to someone, you make it your job that they use every single one of those. Why? Because you're building a habit. You're building a loyalty, and their lifetime value will balloon. And I'm going to give you the floor in 1 sec, but my biggest pet peeve in your industry, not Pilates, but wellness, is those jerks that sell you 10 packs and then they expire and they don't extend it, and like they don't make any effort to make you use them. And I just feel so used by them. I feel so angry, and I didn't actually get a chance to like get a habit out of this and experience the benefit of it. So like that's not moral, that's not ethical, and it's terrible business practices, because if you can find a way to get them to book their next session at the end of the session and use that 10-pack in the month that they have it, they're going to build a habit that's going to change their body, and they're going to be a customer of yours forever. Brent.
Yeah, I was going to say, very early on, one of the things we noticed is our physical therapy was, this much in revenue, and our Pilates was this much in revenue. We started realizing that we started having about a 40% conversion of our physical therapy into Pilates group class instruction or private instruction. And we then realized 6 months of that, we had an 80% retention of those that were doing Pilates versus those that dropped out. And so what we saw over the next 10 years was, even though the PT money was still here, the long-term residual income of the people in Pilates, to this day, we have the same people coming in, decades later, that won't miss a Pilates class for their healthy spine class. And so, the idea is, if we didn't pursue them and really try to establish a habit of using our services. And the thing is, in physical therapy, we can't do that. So we're not taught that. It'd be unethical to try to keep somebody in physical therapy, but to push somebody into wellness and encourage them to be wellness is exactly what we should be doing. All of us, no matter what part of the spectrum of care we're in. And that invitation are crucial to not only their health and their success story, but it also is crucial to the visibility of watching that exponential growth in your practice and in your studios.
I love it. Well, we have reached the end of the formal presentation. I feel like I got a little excited there, but I do feel passionately about this. And I love talking to groups like yours where, you know, I know you guys, and I know the work you do is so valuable. And I get really kind of worked up because I don't know if you're kind of reaching as many people as you need to. Like, the world needs you guys, and I want to help you get to more of your customers. So before we wrap up, I want to do the grand reveal of your scores and where the averages were. But obviously I want to give you the floor, Brent, if there's anything else you wanted to announce before we kind of
Great.
start wrapping up.
Let's see the numbers.
Yeah, man, exactly. All right, I just did my calculations. They're still coming in. Guys, feel free to keep throwing these in here, and I'm gonna share my screen, and let's see.
While you're doing that, Sarah Edwards had a question. I think that's going to have to be answered in the course, but it was talking about more of the communication diamond in the storytelling.
Yeah, and that's actually, I could end with that if we have the time, but here's where we are. The foundation, 5.7 out of 10. Pillar 1 campaign objective, 4.4. Target audience, 6.1, following kind of the pattern I predicted. Irresistible Offer, 4.7. Thumb-stopping visual, 4.3. Compelling message, 4.1. So people are actually ranking themselves even lower on visuals and messaging. This is the bread and butter of marketing, you know what I mean? So what I'm seeing here is that you're decent on strategy, particularly around audience, but you are really, really struggling with kind of just getting that message out in a compelling way. And then call to action, 4.7, average of 33.5. That's actually pretty consistent with what most beginning marketers are. We generally see between 30 and 40 is a typical starting point. So you guys are right there. I wanted to say this though, which is I'm not at all surprised that you're kind of over indexing on your business story. Like, you guys, I think, are more in touch than most with your why. I get lots of zeros. People are just like, you know, they sell, I don't know, toilets or windshield wipers, or, you know, do pest control services, and they have no clue. And you know, one of my clients sells you know, speaker coating liquid. You know what I mean? Like those people actually have really compelling reasons for that business too, but they're not as in touch with it as you guys are. So I love to see that that's a score. And this is my favorite group to work with, is people who really get their why. Really quickly, so this is the communications diamond, right? The hard core of this diamond is your business story, is your why. Every time you see me move my arm and you see it reflect the different facets of this diamond, those are your channels and your audiences. You need to get really good at talking about your why, about your business story across all your channels and across all your audiences. And so you have to define the core of your diamond and then learn how to tell that story of us, of how your diamond connects to this audience versus that audience. The way to think about it is this way. You have a couple different business stories or stories of me that you, anecdotes about your life. The one that I've shared with you today was the anecdote of losing my job and having to learn marketing. And so that is specifically geared for business owners. I always pull that one out because you guys feel me, right? Like, learning marketing sucks. You feel me there. I didn't talk as much about some other aspects of my life, like my mother being an art teacher in inner city Philadelphia for 35 years, that I'm a champion of the underdog because she taught me to do that. I didn't talk about my grandfather in Spain, who is a coach in La Liga, Spain's Spanish national soccer team, and my grandfather, who is a teacher at Central High School in Philadelphia, the second oldest public high school, that the legacy in the United States, that this legacy of teaching and coaching runs generations through me, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, my mother, my father, and all the way down into me. And I'm living it through BizHack. Like, those stories are all part of my arsenal that I tell every time I have a public speech. And depending on who the audience is, depending, in other words, on which facet of the diamond I tell that story. So I'm going to go and hire someone tomorrow in an employee interview, and I'm going to tell them about my mom.
Yeah, I love that idea. Andre, any last things you want to share with the group before we close it down?
Actually, yes. I've been getting a lot of WhatsApp messages from people who joined us today asking about the date of the course, when it will be released. The course will be live, I think it's October 19th or mid-October. You'll get more information after the session when you get the replay. just so that you can sign up for the waiting list. And if you guys have any questions, I'll write my email down here for you. Dan and I are geeks and love to talk about these things. So I invite you all to just reach out. We love to help. And it was a pleasure having you all. And thank you, Brent. Thank you, Dan. I love sharing this knowledge with you guys and listening to you. And
Thank
looking
you for
forward
joining us.
to
And it was last minute
connecting.
for Andre to come on, so I'm really glad you joined us today, because you're going to be leading a lot of the course. So
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And you know, I am really honored to be doing this kind of work for your industry and for you, Brent. I am such a huge admirer of the community that you've built, and I've seen it and experienced it and felt it firsthand pre-COVID. And we you know, like so many things, this is a couple years in coming, but I'm just so honored, guys, to serve you, and thank you all for taking the time to be here today. If you liked kind of the energy of today, if you liked the sort of feeling of it, that's what the course feels like, but just 10 hours of it. So we hope you do participate in it. You do get CE credits as well, which is important so that you can keep your certifications. Thank you.
that's great. Hey, listen, Dan, I can't thank you enough for joining us. And I always tell people I'm a very patient man, and I know that COVID sort of pushed us apart for a little while, and it's great to have you back in the Polestar team and to have the excitement of Andreina and bringing it back into the fold. And so this course is going to be great. It's long awaited for. It's a talent that we need to be successful in our business, not only to attract the people that want to do Pilates, but to attract the people who don't know yet that they want to do Pilates. And I think this is where there's billions of people that still do not have any idea of what Pilates is and how it can improve the quality of their life. I want to leave you all with just a message to, most importantly, above all things, be kind and seek to understand. The world is a crazy place these days, and the best we can do is bring a little peace to our clients, a little bit of happiness, some understanding, and be kind. Appreciate you all. We'll see you next Thursday. Next Thursday, I'm going to be with Miss Shelley Power again, and we're going to be talking about load and spring adaptation and the complexity of the Pilates springs. So tell your friends. We'll see you next time. You'll get more information about the BizHack course coming up in October. Be kind. Thank you.